So walk me down. You took that fork in the road. You went right. 21 years old was when you got elected. What does it look like since 21 to now,
man.
almost 30 years old?
Oh, man. So I spent my entire 20s basically campaigning, essentially a campaigning.
Campaigning for what? What does that
So
look
when
like?
I was elected, and full disclaimer here, this is not a promotional ad for any political party. I'm very clear about that. I am here just providing the story for contextual evidence. I was elected to lead the Democratic Party, and at that time was when we started to see
At 21 years old.
21 years old. Yes,
What
sir.
does that mean? Lead the Democratic Party.
So basically, the way it works in the party structure is that you have your local organizations that support your local offices, city council, state legislature, and then you have your county organizations that support your county offices, right? Sheriff, county board of supervisors, and you have your statewide organization that sets the strategy for your party for the state to elect statewide officials in every elected office underneath it. You often hear terms, what people most readily identify with is like the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, or the RNC, the Republican National Committee. Just think about that structure at the local level.
Got it.
You
Okay.
get what I'm saying? So I'm elected to lead the Arizona Democratic Party. At the time, 3.5 million Democrats. My job was to make sure we set the strategy and we get Democrats elected up and down.
So you get 21 years old. Like,
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah,
like,
man. Yeah, it was
what's
an
like
intense campaign.
What's the second youngest person's ever
Yeah, I don't know. I think I got beat a few years later. I think somebody that was like 19 or 20 got elected after I stepped down.
Yeah.
But here's what it was, right? So my thing was, I have never been somebody who puts party first. It has always been someone who puts people first. People first, right? Like, yeah, I'm a proud, registered, party member. I vote. I don't vote party lines, but I vote, my values, and a lot of the times my values aligns with my party, right? I don't vote party lines, and I just want to make that one very clear. But I will say, though, when I got elected, I brought an engagement-based approach. I brought a human values-based approach. And so I'm hosting roundtables with Republicans. I'm walking into Republican leadership offices and developing these relationships. And these relationships I still have till this day, right? Like friends of mine, right? And like we disagree wholeheartedly. I'm traveling around the state. When I was elected as in this position, I made like 500 stops. All 15 counties. I mean, I'm talking about Ajo on up to Page, Havasu on over to Globe. I'm in the White Mountains, right? You know what I mean? I'm doing events in the mountains over in northwestern Arizona, right? Like not even in a city, right? Like we in the mountains because they wanted to have an event like almost on Hoover Dam, right? Like I'm everywhere, right? Maricopa County, right? Pima County, Pinal County, right? We're all over the place. And the one thing that I learned is that like our issues aren't very different. We put our pants on the same exact way. Regardless if you're Republican or Democrat, people who are most vulnerable just want support. And I'm meeting with these elected leaders. And I remember one time, I'm going to leave the elected leader out and I'm going to leave the city out. I make it to this city and I specifically asked the people that are organizing the event that I'm at. And it was generally like, a community meeting or stuff like that, right? I'm asking the folks, can I meet with the sheriff? I want to meet with the sheriff. I want to meet with the sheriff. And like, this is a sheriff of a county and someone I did not agree with on anything. And so I get a meeting with the sheriff and he goes, basically asked me like, why are we meeting?
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, you don't agree with me. I don't agree with you. I don't like you. You don't like me, basically type of thing. And I said, I want to learn, man. Like, what drives you? What helps you tick? Like, that's it. Like, I'm not trying to get out of this meeting to get your support. I don't want your support. Right? Like, I'll find new support. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to learn, like, what makes you you, right? Like, why do you think the way that you do? And for me, at that point in time, it was legitimately just an educational journey. Lo and behold, I did not realize that I was going to be able to apply those instances in my later life. And so I'm traveling around the state. We get a bunch of people elected. The Secretary of State elected. At that point in time, we got Kyrsten Sinema elected. We're winning races. We're the closest we've ever been in the legislature. The second election comes around. I got elected in 2017. Trump was elected in November, took office in January. We both took office the same month. Trump took office on January 20th, and I took office on January 17th. And literally, that was basically what I was campaigning against, right? It was like learning about people, channeling that energy that we saw, boom, 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 boom. No need to go into details around that. I stepped down in December of 2019 to run for a local office. I ran for the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, which is the governing body for Maricopa County, America's 5th largest county.
Yeah, huge.
5 million people, 5 million people live in this county. Governed by 5 people make the decisions for the entire county. Each district has nearly 1 million people in the district, okay? And so I'm running for this office, and I'm running a great race against an individual who's now one of my really close friends, Jack Sellers. He beat me. But I stepped down, and let me tell you, this district is massive. Tempe, Ahwatukee, Chandler, Gilbert, Queen Creek, West Mesa, nearly 1 million people. But this district was a district that was not in favor for my party. Trump won this district by 8 points. 8 points. Like in political world, like anything more than like 2 or 3 points is like
So
not even worth even looking at, right?
Yeah.
But I get in this race, and what do? I start talking to folks. I start communicating with folks. I start asking folks those questions. I take with those lessons I learned from that sheriff, and I was talking to people that didn't agree with me, right? And I was trying to figure out, like, where do we find common ground? Like, you care about criminal justice reform? Actually, so do I. And let me tell you about how the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors impacts the courts and the sheriff's department, right? And like it was taking a very surgical approach. And then COVID hit. Right. And then I had to move campaigning online. And so now I'm on the phones all day. I'm doing Zooms all day. And election day comes around. And guess what? On election day, I'm winning by 15 points.
Wow.
15 points. And Arizona has a law that every election has to be counted 15 days after the election. So for 15 days straight, I'm winning. We get to the 15th day, and the votes change. And I end up losing by 403 votes out of hundreds of thousands of ballots cast, 0.03%. And the reason why I lost that race, right, and I still don't know, but probably because the guy, like it was a split district. But in that race, we were able to talk to folks. The percentage of folks that didn't align with my party that voted for me was astronomical, right? The numbers weren't there. And so I was hurt, I was sad, I was broken, but I was proud. I was so proud to be able to move the needle the way that we did. So I take some time off, right? And
how do you deal with that process? Because everyone's probably looking at you like, Jevin, you did it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you don't win.
Well,
how'd you internally deal with that?
It took me a long time, right, to accept the fact that I did it, right? Because for me, it was a failure, right? And the one thing that I've accepted, and I know for a fact, right, you don't fail, you learn. You learn.
Absolutely.
And so it was a very humbling experience. I was hurt. I was broken, shook to my core. And then the thing is that like in elections are generally determined on the night of the election or the night after. So the fact that this went for 2 weeks, right, it was agonizing. It was like having your fingernails peeled off, right? Like it was painful just watching the lead dwindle away and then you lose it, right? Literally the grasp of it. But then, it's like, as crazy as it sounds, like you hear those cliches and it actually makes sense. Like it's not rejection, it's redirection, right? Like God has a bigger plan for you, right?
Amen.
Like you realize that it's always darkest before dawn. Like those cliches that you hear, like it actually started to apply. And let me tell you how it actually started to apply, right? So I take some time off. I don't miss a beat. I get right back at it. I'm engaging, I'm running, I'm moving, I'm doing my thing. I'm back on the political engagement thing. And then March, April rolls around, and we don't have somebody that's going to run for Congress in Arizona's 1st district. At the time, it was Arizona's 6th district before the lines were redrawn, but Arizona's 1st district. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
My mom talked me into it, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I jump in this race. I am an underdog. I'm running against a 12-year incumbent who's been in the office for 12 years. 12 years and won this district by 5 points before, right? Like this is not like it's a competitive seat, but it's not like you're going to have a chance. When I tell you, and so when you run for high office, you start off and you raise your money from your friends and your families. First few $100,000 raised by your friends and families. I raised $10,000 from my friends and families. You know what I did from there? I made, over the course of the campaign, 52,000 phone calls asking people for support.
Wow.
Most of them in Arizona. All day. That's all I did. Asking people for support, calling folks. Some of the folks viewing today probably got a phone call from me.
Probably got hit up by Jevin.
Right. And then I was there in the community. I learned what I learned from when I was leading the party. I learned what I learned from when I ran in my last race, that everyone's opinion mattered. I was going everywhere, man. I'm in the senior center. I'm at the gun show party. You know what I mean? I'm everywhere. And like what I was just doing was taking that pick and that hammer, and I was just chiseling away. I went from being a nobody that nobody thought had a chance to being one of the most highest profiled races in the country. And I just climbed up the ladder. I told people, I was like, my polling's accurate. Watch me. I was like, look, I'm going to bet on me. I don't need you to, right? Like, you know, I just climbing up the ladder. And then people started to catch on. And I started getting endorsements here. And I started getting endorsements there. And I started getting other big names. And I started getting other big names. And next thing you know, Barack Obama's in Arizona. Next thing you know, like, started getting these big names. And it's coming out. Hillary Clinton's writing me letters, right? Like, started getting these, you know, big names. And then we get close to the election. And the craziest part was seeing my name on TV. I'm in the gym working out, and I see 2 ads that are talking about how I'm a horrible person, and then 2 ads coming on like, Jevin's that guy, right? And people looking at me. I'm working out. People like,
Like, is this you?
yeah. And so we end this election. I'm winning. I'm up by 17 points now on election day. And then another week and a half goes by. And it's just chiseling away. And I ended up losing by about a half of a percentage point, making it one of Arizona's most close congressional seats and the 6th closest congressional seat in the country. And a lot of people ask me, like, you did, like, how are you? You're the only person in Arizona history to do this, to come this close in these elections. And quite honestly, like, my purpose was to lay the foundation for something bigger. I don't know what that something bigger is politically, right? But I'm not going to run away from it. I'm not, you know, and so I'm walking into my 30th birthday and realizing right after my 21st birthday, literally a month after my 21st birthday, I started that journey. And now heading into my 30th birthday, I'm reflecting back, looking at the work that we've done, the amount of people that I have helped get elected, raise money for, become friends with. I can pick up the phone and personally call. Like, the amount of change that we've seen in our communities, the amount of investment that we've been able to make, I'm so incredibly proud of it. I'm not going to let my foot off the pedal, you know, but I'm going to keep running with it.